Thank you, Dermot, and thank you for the invitation to speak again at Procurement Week this year. And it's a pleasure to follow two such distinguished speakers in Caroline and Wouter. I have to say that Wouter did leave me wondering whether malpracticing tennis club procurement might be regarded as a racket. But perhaps that's a off point. But when just to explain who I am, so Dermot's introduced me. I'm effectively responsible for the legal and policy framework governing public procurement. So my team negotiated the most recent set of procurement directives on behalf of the UK and then implemented them into UK law. So obviously at the minute supporting the Brexit process. But my team is also responsible for the extent to which procurement should be used to deliver wider policy objectives of the type that we've spoken about a little bit already, and advising ministers on the extent that that's achievable, desirable, etc. So I'll be touching on quite a lot of that today. Next slide. So this is just what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to briefly talk about the Crown Commercial Service, although I imagine most of you know who we are. I'll talk about some of those policy priorities around industrial strategy, SMEs, how procurement can foster innovation, growth, anti-corruption, transparency, and then just a little bit about looking to the future. I hope it's not too frustrating. I hope you can understand why I won't be able to say a great deal either about what arrangements will look like post-exit, or indeed what our thinking is. I'll explain why later, but hopefully it's reasonably self-evident. What I am very interested in, though, is your views. I'm very happy to be in listening mode. I've read some of the articles that delegates contributed to the brochure, so I know where some of you are, but we are very open to listening, even though we're not really open to talking at the minute. And I'll explain why that is, although hopefully it's, as I say, reasonably self-evident. Next slide. This is just a little bit about the Crown Commercial Service. We are obviously the buying arm, if you like, of common goods and services, and not go-to provider for the central government and the wider public sector in supporting the delivery of savings. We also have the policy function that I introduced earlier, and as well as our dedicated SME programme too. We're an executive agency of the Cabinet Office, so Ben Gunner is our minister, and we're part, obviously, of government's commercial function. So that's who we are. As I say, I expect most people know who we are. Next slide. So this is a little bit about current policy priorities and the rationale for it. I think Wouter articulated the rationale for it fairly clearly, although having done my homework, as I say, and read some of the articles contributed, I think it's reasonably safe to say the room's likely to be divided on the extent to which procurement should pursue some of these objectives. But public procurement spend in total last year, 268 billion. And there is an expectation from ministers and other stakeholders, not just in central government, that procurement should be used to deliver some of those wider policy objectives. You'll be aware that we have an SME target of 33% of government's indirect and direct procurement spend to go to SMEs by 2020. It's not a set aside as the US model is. Rather, it's about removing barriers and encouraging bidders who might not have previously considered bidding for public procurement to bid, whether firms in the market not currently in, and making that easier for them. And by doing that, we think that procurement spend will rise with SMEs, and obviously set aside wouldn't be in line with EU procurement law. We want to level the playing field for UK-based suppliers. So not about skewing the market, but rather making sure that where there is fuller value and other policy that can be delivered through procurement, that it is being done, and I'll explain how we're doing that shortly. We want to encourage innovation where appropriate, and that's really about fostering the environment. I mean, I agree with Wouter that the innovation has to come from the suppliers, but the way in which the public sector sets out to procure can certainly help or hinder suppliers bringing innovative solutions to us. It's about making sure the policy environment's right for that. Increasing transparency and tackling corruption is also important. We've obviously been taking action on transparency since 2011. We've stepped that up recently. There were announcements at last year's anti-corruption summit that I'll talk about shortly that are relevant to that, which will obviously increase accountability of how procurement is being used to to citizens and taxpayers. And finally, supporting the Brexit process, as I alluded to earlier. Next slide. So this is sort of government's procurement for growth objective. You can see it up there about ensuring public procurement can deliver value for money, will drive innovative new solutions where appropriate, strengthen skills. Government's got a 3 million apprenticeships target across the economy by 2020. And how can we develop UK supply chains and make it easier for suppliers to compete for public sector work? So as I say, not through protectionism, but through levering the playing field type activity. Next. So you may have seen in January the Industrial Strategy Green Paper was published, and there were a few consultation questions relating to public procurement, and there were various procurement references in there that are relevant. Some of the things we've been talking about today to support growth and innovation. There's a review of government's small business research initiative, which is essentially competitions designed to solve public sector needs. So David Connell from Judge Business School at Cambridge is having a look at how the scheme currently operates and how it might be made more effective in future. In October, we published the Growth Balance Scorecard, and again, that's designed to help procurers balance sort of traditional factors, cost and quality against some of these other policy priorities that you might want to deliver. It's not telling them what the answer is. We don't suggest weighting it, but we say how these different initiatives might be balanced. So it doesn't apply to chairs, but let's just take that as an example, for instance. So using the scorecard might lead you to specify sustainable chairs, which you might get at the end, whereas otherwise you might just specify chairs, and at the end you get a bid for sustainable chairs, which you quite like, but obviously your award criteria are wrong. And it might lose out. So the balance scorecards for getting people to think about what to interview at different stages in the process, and helping people really deal with the flexibilities that 2015 procurement contracts rate based on the directives obviously gave people, because we had queries where it's all very well saying we can do it, but how should we do it? And that's sort of what the scorecard tries to do. And we want to roll that out to construction, infrastructure projects, and also making sure that we use those and measure the impact it's having, particularly on areas such as SMEs and apprenticeships. Caroline's quite right. What does it cost to do this, and what benefit does procurement realise in these areas? So we want to get much better than previously at measuring metrics. And obviously, that's helped by other capability improvements around things like open book accounting, so you can see exactly what you're paying for what. So we want to get better at measuring that. And also, we've got work underway to simplify terms and conditions and tender documents. CCS is leading on that with the simplification of its bid pack and its own T's and C's. And obviously to help deliver innovation, which I'll talk about now. Next slide. So we want to deliver guidance on innovation. I mentioned David Connell's review. Malcolm Harper's also looking at it for LGA with the Task and Finish group. The name will be familiar. Obviously, he was chair of the Internal Markets Committee in the European Parliament when the last directives went through. And I was really interested to read the contribution from Catherine Johns from Durham about how they've used SBRI to great effect there. And again, it's not rocket science here. We do want to make sure that the pre-market engagement's right, the pre-procurement engagement, outcome-based specs, and how we can get review points and contracts to help encourage and incentivise innovation, and ensuring that our provisions on IPR work properly and don't disincentivise innovative solutions. And hopefully we'll be coming out with that in the next few months. So, moving away from industrial strategy on to tackling corruption. Now, obviously, I think we're fortunate in the UK. Corruption isn't the problem that it is in other jurisdictions, but we always need to be mindful that it's a risk, and obviously it does still happen in certain circumstances. So we were very keen to strengthen our anti-corruption framework in support of the former PM summit last May, And obviously another reason for doing that is to encourage other countries to do the same. So if we can lead by example. And there were announcements of relevance here to procurement. One is around actually checking what suppliers tell us about their convictions. So obviously there are a number of exclusion criteria that work in the public contracts road, and that works on the basis of self-certification. But there was no sort of systematic due diligence process in place. Obviously, different contracting authorities would do different things. So we're piloting a process whereby we'll actually undertake conviction checks on the suppliers and those who control the company, working with ACRO, the Association of Criminal Records Officers. We'll pilot that in CCS initially, and then depending on the result of that pilot, we'll look to roll it out. The other point allied to that is working to establish a register of beneficial ownership for firms that either want to bid for government contracts or to buy property. In the UK, so that goes beyond procurement. British companies have to register on the Persons of Significant Control Register, so we can check those. Foreign firms we can't, so there's going to be a call for evidence launched shortly about how that might work. So I'd encourage people to keep an eye out for that, and please do respond if it's an area in which you've got views. Another area we focused on at the Anti-Corruption Summit was around transparency and how we can make procurement data much more transparent. Obviously, transparency is key to tackling corruption, although I think in the UK it's as much about accountability to Parliament and to the taxpayer. We've been publishing contract data for quite a long time, since 2011, but the problem was it wasn't really systematic. It was all published in PDFs. I've been a customer of our own data, trying to prepare parliamentary select committees, and the variations, the needing to have to go into PDFs, the inability to search some of them because they were scans. There's no actual text in them. Bit of a nightmare for anyone who wanted to mine that data in an easy way. Well, obviously, it was a great first step. So we've become the first G7 country to commit to the Open Contracting Data Standard. So what is it? It's produced by the Open Government Partnership, and it essentially ensures that data throughout the contracting lifecycle is in a machine-readable format, so that data scientists and others interested can mine it and do busy clever things with it, and add value-added services. So I know people use contracting data to analyse pipelines and look for opportunities, and so there's quite a lot of uses for the data. And so we've rolled that out in CCS. And the UK is also a founder member of the Contracting Five, so that's with other governments, Colombia, Mexico, Ukraine and France, and the first meeting of that was at the Open Government Partnership Summit in Paris in December. And obviously we're working closely with the Open Contracting Partnership for a showcase and learning project for them, so all sorts of things being learnt on that, and hopefully it will make contracting data a lot more usable. So those of you that use Contract Finder to look at data may have noticed some improvements there, and it becoming easier to analyse that data. Next slide. So I do want to touch on Brexit. I think last time I was in Bangor, it was early June last year. We were about to publish our version of the European Single Procurement Document. We envisaged a busy, albeit steady year on directive implementation and making sure e-procurement was implemented, and then obviously things changed a little bit. We are still doing those things, but we're very much supporting the Department of Brexit in the European Union, Department of International Trade, and I just want to say that the team doing that is the same one that transposed the Public Contracts Directive in 10 months and negotiated it, and the way they've stepped up and embraced the challenge is absolutely amazing. So obviously it won't be visible particularly to anyone, but I just wanted to publicly recognise that, the fact that they've really risen to it despite having had such a potentially stressful time in implementing the Public Contracts Directive. I think is a great testimony to them. I wouldn't expect anything less, but nonetheless, I did want to just recognise it. And it's too early to say, obviously, what the future of procurement regime will look like. So it depends so much on the nature of our exit from the European Union, and also on any free trade agreement entered into with the EU. So we're considering all the options very carefully. We can't obviously comment on possible solutions at this stage because it would, it could potentially prejudice negotiations. But there's obviously a range of something very similar to what we've got now, something where we've got greater latitude for reform. For instance, were we to join the GPA, it's 30 pages compared to 200 and odd. So purely in volume terms, there's a simplification. But as I say, I can't really talk about a future direction. But I am, of course, happy to listen, as I indicated earlier. Thank you very much.